CSDb here for 64K, and welcome to another episode of New Retro. And if you've never watched New Retro before, basically I take a look at a new game released on an old system or a new updated version. We also go back and check out the inspiration game or the original game. Today we got 3. Okay, so let's first take a look at that arcade original. 1989 saw the release of Turbo Outrun by Sega in the arcades. This is a sequel to the original arcade game Outrun, which came out in 1986 and was designed by legend Yu Suzuki. Most of the same team from Sega's AM2 division worked on this arcade sequel, including Hiroshi Miyauchi, who composed the original Immortal soundtrack. And although this isn't quite as good as that, it still has some rocking Sega tunes to get you in the mood for tearing down those highways. In this version, you have to race across the USA, from New York to LA, and features 16 stages in total. Unlike the original, you cannot choose your path and there's only one to follow, but there are a bunch of extra features to make up for this. First, as the name suggests, your Ferrari is outfitted with a turbo booster to send the car into overdrive for brief periods of time. You can't use it all the time or else the car overheats, so you got to keep a reasonable balance between driving well and using it on those nice long straights, or to boost start after a crash. Another cool aspect is that after every 4 stages you get to take a break and have a chance to choose an upgrade for your car, from a souped up engine, better gripping tires, or an enhanced turbo feature. And the last major addition is you racing against an opponent as well as the time clock. If he beats you to the last of the 4 checkpoints, your girlfriend would ditch you and join him for the next leg of the race. So much for true love. Is this game as good as the original? No, it's not. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It's still a very cool, fun, fast-paced arcade ride with good graphics, a cracking soundtrack, and tons of variety in its 16 stages to make it a game still well worth a go on MAME or the arcade original if you can still find one kicking about. And now onto the original C64 version. Turbo Outrun was released on the C64 by US Gold in 1989, the same year as the arcade release. The game was programmed by their talented team of Probe, who made some truly brilliant C64 games in its later years, like Special Criminal Investigations, Mr. Heli, and Smash TV. This game is how you do an arcade conversion correct. Not only does it feature all the arcade's new modes, plus all 16 stages, but it even enhances some aspects, like the soundtrack, for example, by Jerome Tell, which is absolutely phenomenal, and that remix of Magical Sound Shower on the loader screen is one of the C64's best SID tunes, hands down. Besides the soundtrack, the graphics are excellent in terms of menus, intermission screens, and the game itself. It simply pushes the C64 to the limit. There's just such a large variety of track with all the arcade details intact, including the storms and roadside obstacles. Zap 64 December 1989 issue sang its praises, giving the game an overall 97%, saying, "Perfectly presented with all the superb playability of the coin-op." Besides the C64 version, most other ports fared fairly badly, so do be aware of that if you plan on trying it on other systems. And now let's look at the new version by Access. And in 2020 we got this new C64 version of Turbo Outrun by cracking group Access. They were formed in 1991 in Germany, where most of the group originated, although it's now made up of many non-German members, who at this point have been cracking games and producing awesome C64 demos for decades. Now let's take a look at this new updated version of the classic C64 conversion. First up, it's an easy flash release, meaning this file can be used on everything from the Ultimate 1541, Ultimate 64, Turbo Chameleon, Vice, and of course the C64 Mini and Maxi. So you got all your modern C64 alternatives covered. John Egg also contributes a new excellent loader screen, and the game is now NTSC and PAL compatible, making it easy for anyone in any region to enjoy it. The original C64 version was a big old multi-loader of a game, which wasn't too bad on disc, but obviously the cassette version was a long slog to play. And with this being an easy flash release means the loading is almost non-existent, which is awesome. There have also been a number of bug fixes, most notably some slight graphical glitches, and the high score table will now save your high score, unlike in the original version. And lastly, what's one of these releases without a nice set of docks and trainers to help or cheat your way to the end of the game? This is a nice slick version of an almost arcade perfect port, just made that a little bit better, and is a fantastic version of the game to check out, especially if if you've never played the C64 version before. And even if you have, it's still a great enhancement that's totally worth a download. So you're probably wondering, where can I get these games? As for the original arcade version, your best bet is to play it through MAME or on a RetroPie. You'll probably get the best experience from that. It was released on a bunch of home formats like the Mega Drive and the Amiga in the early 90s, but none of those versions are particularly that great. The original Turbo Outrun on the Commodore 64 is available physically on disc and tape. You can find it on eBay. And as for the new Access version, it's available on CSDb.dk. If it's not there already, it will be very soon. And thanks for joining me, Bastish B at 64K. I hope you had a good time. If you can like and subscribe, that'll be greatly appreciated, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.